So if you want to be your absolute best version of yourself on the football pitch, one of the key components, and actually the second pillar of our system to make talent, is skill. And skill, if you didn't know, is fueled by what's called the flow state. Now, the flow state is a topic that has gotten more airtime and becoming more popular on social media in terms of talking about, okay, I always play my best when I feel effortless. Everything's just in the moment. I'm in the flow. I'm not thinking about things. I'm just doing. I'm almost listening to this intuition and I'm acting on it without even, consciously thinking through the technique of a strike. But just because I feel it, I can do it. This basically, put simply, is a flow state. It is how you become instinct driven on the football pitch. Now, I don't think anyone else in the football world was really talking about this until myself when I started Football Entangled a few years ago. And now it's becoming more popular by people that called me crazy in the beginning, and now they're copying me. So that's very flattering. But the reason that I make this video is because one of the stupidest things that I see in the football world is you see people talking about, okay, get into your flow state, just relax on the football pitch, but they're just saying stuff. They're not actually giving you solutions to do that. And to say that it's easy to get into a flow state, but it's hard to stay in it, or that you can just do it by listening to your favorite music before you play a game, but you're wearing headphones with Bluetooth that radiates your brain cells. These are things that just don't work. There's no logic going on here. It's just feel-good stuff because, just go on Spotify and put on your favorite music and get into the flow state. And I see tons of footballers using music as a cope to get into a flow state. But you're too scared to sit with your own thoughts for 5 minutes, aka meditation. Now, this video is not about meditation, and we'll get into that further along. But I want to clear up some of the nonsense when it comes to this idea of creativity, of mindfulness, of flow state, and really how all that relates to skill. Because truly, if you look at where all the best footballers in the world, or where they come from, it is from the streets. And why? And one big part of that is because when they play football on the streets, 5v5, small-sided pickup futsal, you are in a flow state. And maybe in those situations, they're not getting as many touches, like actual touches, as a kid in America doing ball drills for 5 hours a day, but the touches they're getting are of higher quality because they're against live opponents and they're in the flow state. There are a few good books on this. One is called The Talent Code that talks about how in small-sided games like futsal in Brazil, you have almost like a 10x effect on skill acquisition. And it's because the myelin, which is one of the important pieces of your nerves in your body that is one of the big factors of skill, of coordination, of proprioception, small-sided play and that kind of activity on the brain stimulates more production and more connections in your brain. So that's why someone that does 1,000 touches in small-sided play against older opponents versus a kid in America that does 10,000 touches by himself, this kid in Brazil is way better than that kid in America. And it's because we're looking for quality and not quantity. Now, of course, the more that this kid plays in that environment, the better he gets. So yeah, the quality goes up when you have the right kind of quality. It's not about just touches, hours. And that was actually, for me, growing up, one of the funniest things is, I remember I read this book called the 10,000 hour rule or something like that. And it just kind of has this research that says, all the best players in all sports across their childhood, they accumulated around, give or take, 10,000 hours in their chosen sport or activity. And that was the big critical factor that took them to the pro level. And that was probably, looking back, one of the big reasons why I was such a grinder and had that grinder mentality and thinking, okay, every morning I'm going to do 1,000 touches and do all these ball drills and count every single touch and have it in a journal and write it down. But in reality, it's just embarrassing and silly because the kid from Brazil that is not counting how many touches he has is literally 1,000 times better than you and is going to play in the big leagues in Europe because he's good, because he has embraced the flow state. When you do cone drills, you cannot embrace the flow state because you're consciously thinking about the cones or the ball. There's no passion, there's no love. And one of the reasons in this video that we'll get into why the flow state is so powerful and why it's so different from doing cone drills is because of this unquantifiable characteristic of love, of passion, of purity, of your love of the game of football. When you're in a flow state playing 5v5, you're not playing 5v5 because you consciously think, okay, if I do this, I'll get better at football. You're playing the game because you love the game. And because you love the game, you running around is not work, it's fun. And so that is a big part of you getting into the flow state. So the next area is people that talk about mentality, people that talk about the flow state, people that talk about confidence and charisma and skill, but they're fat. You cannot talk about mental paradigm and confidence and self-esteem and self-worth if you are fat, because you cannot control the things you put into your mouth. So every time I hear some person talking about that they're a mental coach or they do mental training or whatever, you have to understand that usually they're full of because the physical always comes before the mental. You cannot unlock the fullest potential of your mind without the physical inputs to give your conscious mind and your unconscious mind the structuring, the scaffolding, the hormones to actually reach that level of consciousness where you can say, yes, I operate at a higher frequency. The physical and the mental are so interlinked, and if you try to separate them, you will you'll basically be going in circles just pretending. So if you want to talk about the flow state, if you want to talk about creativity, if you want to talk about intuition, but you wear AirPods, but you never are grounded, but you sleep at midnight or 2 a.m. or 4 a.m., you are exposed to artificial blue light all night, you have EMF around you all day, you are inside a building all day and you get no sunlight. All of these physical inputs are the building blocks to create that flow state. Did you ever think it's funny that all those Brazilians on the streets of Brazil are outside in the sun almost all day long in the fresh air? And usually they're playing barefoot or wearing cheap shoes on the concrete. Concrete, you can ground through that if there's dirt under it, of course. If you're on like a tall building on the roof, then obviously not. But you have to understand that this flow state, you need the physical inputs to reach that position. You can't sit in your apartment behind glass windows under fake light, eating processed junk, watching porn, watching Netflix, and then go do 5 minutes of mental training. It doesn't work that way. That is kind of some of the baloney, some of the BS that we're taught is like, oh, take this supplement and fix, your health. Getting back to the flow state, one more area that I think is totally nonsense is talking about nootropics or any type of cognition influencing supplement. Any kind of supplement that says, oh, it's going to increase your creativity or it's going to increase your cognitive performance. These are all great on paper, but in reality, they again just take you away from the fundamental laws of nature, which is you must have the real physical inputs to get the most out of your spiritual, your emotional, your mental ability. So how can you increase your flow state? How can you actually unlock the highest ability from a mental perspective? If you paid attention in this video, the answer is you have to start with the physical. And that's why in my 5-pillar system, the first pillar is vitality. It is the physical. So if you want to reach pillar 2, which is skill, you must first take care of vitality. And we'll put some on the screen, a few simple bullet points. Every morning, get grounded. Every morning, go outside in the sun. Every morning, eat a protein and fat focused breakfast. Save the carbohydrates and the sugar for the afternoon. These are three critical zeitgeists that will realign your circadian rhythm, which is the cornerstone of human health, of human performance, of human vitality, to live out your best life. So morning sunlight, morning grounding, and morning food. And the food ideally should be real food. That could be grass-fed, fresh unfrozen meat. That could be pasture-raised eggs that are unrefrigerated. That could be seafood if you like that in the morning. I personally don't, but if you do, enjoy. Some kind of protein and fat focused breakfast. If you want to gain weight, then do a raw milk milkshake, raw milk, raw eggs, raw honey, just a bit, and raw butter. Mix it around, drink it. It tastes great. Enjoy it. Those are the three zeitgeists to finally fix your vitality. Now, of course, there's much more stuff that we cover with our clients, but those are three great areas that you should be knocking off every single day. If you're not knocking those things off every single day, then, my friend, forget about the rest of the pillars because you're not ready for that. If you can't simply go out every morning for the sunrise, then you're not ready to be a professional football player. And to be fair, I tell this to all of my pro clients the first day. If you can't do these basics, then don't work with me because we aren't the right fit. If you want to be an elite professional football player, you need to do what it takes. And you need to consciously say, okay, I get that some pro players do some nonsense and they get away with it for some time. But I'm different. I want to be the best of the best of the best and get every single last percentage point to be the best. So let's say you're doing everything with the vitality. Fabulous. So skill. You need to be doing cross training, playing other sports. The reason why that's important is because in our modern society, we've become so brainwashed into thinking that we have to hyper focus on our sport, which is football, and you lose that passion. You lose that spirit of just having fun with your friends at the park, playing basketball, ping pong, tennis, baseball, soccer, football, cricket, whatever it is. Just having fun, playing tag, playing on the playground, parkour, surfing, just running around, having fun, frankly, smiling. When you smile, you will play 1,000 times better, I guarantee it. So cross-training is the first area of getting to a better flow state because you're simply learning, or let's say relearning, to be a kid again, to smile, to have fun. If you can't do that, you'll never get into a flow state because you'll never be able to smile in a stadium with 10,000 fans yelling at you. That is when you can smile in the face of adversity. That's how you reach the highest levels of your mental performance, by pushing yourself from a physical perspective and then relearning how to be a kid again. So that's what we do in our course of Self-Made Talent 2.0, where we help guys go fully into this skill area, pillar 2. Now, I've talked about cross-training, that's great. Simple things like just going for a barefoot walk in the morning, learning to walk slow and smooth, learning to feel your body. That is how you learn to be yourself in the face of adversity. Most guys cannot walk slow, they can't relax. Now, there's some very simple things that you should do. Once you knock off all the vitality stuff, you should probably go lay in the sun for 10 minutes and just breathe. Can you breathe in and out of your nose for 10 minutes and not allow thoughts to take over your mind? Can you separate yourself from impulse? Now that alone, you can spend 10 years doing, and you probably should. You probably should learn to not be impulsive and instead be instinctual. So learn to separate yourself as if every single impulsive thought that comes to your head is a cloud coming around the sky. Just as you notice it, just let it drift by. And that's a very basic instruction of a mindfulness practice that you can use at any moment that you need. On the bus, in bed, outside meditating, out in the sun, wherever. So I've covered quite a bit of stuff on this video. I don't want it to get too long. So down in the comments, just leave me a few questions, comments about what you liked in this video, what you want to hear more about, and I'll make some more content. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm Taylor, founder of Football Entangled, and we are the world's best system for football talent development. No pro club in the world actually knows what they're doing. It's just spray and pray. So if you want to be a top level footballer, down below I have 2 links for our free newsletter and our free assessment. Both are free. Get started with me and my team, and we'll see you on the other side. Ciao.